You might think that to be a graphic designer, you need to have an intimate knowledge of every single tool that's offered in your design software, when in reality, this couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, there's only a handful of tools that I use in Illustrator to create bold and impactful visual identities. Now, I'm not saying that you should never stop trying to improve with your design software. Far from it. There's always a new tool or a new trick that I'm discovering that can help elevate my design process. But day to day, there's always those tried and tested tools that I come back to every single time. And so in this video, I'll be showing you which Illustrator tools you actually need to create memorable visual identities. So let's get going. Okay guys, so we are back in Illustrator once again, and the first tool that I would like to show you is the pencil tool. So that is N on your keyboard, or you can click it over here in the tools panel. And this tool just basically allows you to draw freeform shapes. So you can click and drag to start drawing, and then if you enclose the shape like so, it makes a full vector. And from here, you know, you can click on the colors, give it a fill, give it a stroke, up it a bit. So you can really start messing around and creating some kind of funky shape here. So let's do something like this. So yeah, this tool is just really good for making freeform shapes that have a bit of flow to them and look a bit natural. But one of the best things about the pencil tool is that you can actually hold Alt and click and drag, and it will refine the path that you're drawing. So if you're not happy with the path that it gives you when you first draw it, you can just go and refine it by holding Alt and clicking and dragging and going over the path until you've got the desired path that you need. Holding Alt also brings up this slider here, which is more of like a universal smooth, rather than doing little parts by clicking and dragging. So if you move the slider along, it'll actually smooth out the entire shape like this here. So if you move it all the way to the end, it will become more circular. So you just want to kind of find a sweet spot, say about there, and then that smoothed out the entire shape for me. And once it's drawn, you can actually refine the path as well. So if you move the cursor down towards the path, this little star that's on the cursor will disappear, and you can click and drag and then join back up on the path somewhere else, and it'll actually just expand the shape and refine it around the path that you just drawn. So the pencil tool is my go-to tool when I need to manipulate typography for a logo type. So with my text typed out here, I can go to Object, Expand, and then press OK. That will vectorize the text. And then if I select the pencil tool, I can come down here to the G and manipulate the tail to go kind of over here, swoop down and around, and then back on. Now that is not the best example. Obviously it's a bit bumpy.
No, it's true. It's true.
But you can see how I can use this tool to just manipulate parts of the typography to get results that I wouldn't usually get if I was just using a regular font. So you can see I can do things like this, where I can make the dot of the exclamation mark just a bit of an irregular circle, or something like this with the H, where I can just add this little extrusion here, and then that can just give it a little bit more personality depending on what you're going for. Obviously the results with one mouse stroke are not the best, so if I just manipulate this here to make it a bit smoother, there we go, that's a bit of a better adjustment.
Yeah, boy.
The pencil tool can be a bit fiddly and a bit messy, but if you stick with it, the results from this tool are some of the best you can ever find. One last thing you can do with the pencil tool is just double click on it in the toolbar here, and that'll bring up all the options that you need. So just adjust these to your liking, check the checkboxes that you need to check, tick all the tools for the situation that you need, and then you'll be off. Now, next up is the pen tool, which is P on the keyboard, or you can also just click on the tool here on the sidebar. Now, this tool is a bit notorious for not doing what people want it to do, but I'm just here to tell you that you're probably using it a bit wrong. So what you can do with the pen tool is you can click again and create different jagged edges, more angular lines than the pencil tool, definitely, and you can join them up by clicking and closing the shape. But people use the pen tool more to get smooth curves, so I'll show you how to do that. So say I've got my starting point here, I can then click and drag to create a smooth curve here. It brings up these handles, and then you can let go and it creates a smooth edge for you. And then you can just enclose the shape yet again, click there, hold and drag, makes it smooth. Bob's your uncle.
Nice.
So the pen tool is also really good for tracing images. So I've got a picture of a cat here. Kind of looks like, let me see, this cat here that I've got on my desk. I got this from Kenji in the Metro Centre. He's cute, isn't he?
Child. Anyway, so
the pen tool is really good for tracing images. What you can do is just click on where you want to start the point, and then find where the line curves the most, and then you can click and drag and kind of align the pen tool with the outline of the cat. Don't go too far, do it in little increments on the curve, and then you should get a really smooth curve around the image that you want to trace. I mean, obviously my shape has a fill here, but then if I just swap it round and up the stroke a little bit, you can get a better sense of how the line looks. And obviously I've made a little mistake here, so it's a bit jagged. So what I can do is get the pencil tool instead and just smooth that over. Using the pen tool and the pencil tool in combination makes it really easy to trace over images. And I often do this if I'm struggling with things like perspective. I'll find an image online that I can easily trace around and then just manipulate it with the pen tool and the pencil tool to get the desired effect that I would like. One more thing with the pen tool is that if you hold down shift, you can actually just snap it to like a 45-degree angle. So I can make a straight line here, and then I can make a 45-degree angle here, and then maybe a 90-degree angle here, and then we'll end up with something like this. So if you don't want the pen tool to make curves, you can just hold shift and it'll make straight lines for you, which is a good alternate use for it. So the next tool I'd like to show you is the shape builder tool. So what you want to do is press shift and M on the keyboard, or you can obviously click it on the sidebar here. So with this one, you actually need the shape selected, which I forgot to do. Silly me.
I'm a dumbass.
So if I select them and then click on the shape builder tool, what I can do is just click and drag through the shapes that are overlapping, and then it'll join them up for me. So if I do that the same on the bottom here, I can get a full new shape just from clicking and dragging in the overlapping areas. So another thing you can do is hold down Alt with the shape builder tool, and it will actually just remove the parts of the shape that you go through. So there we've got this nice almost umbrella-like shape here. Kind of cool. You can also Alt and click on the strokes as well. So if I hold Alt here and then click on the strokes on this part, you can see that they just disappear from this overlapping part. So I usually use the shape builder tool when I want to create custom shapes. It's usually when I can think about a shape that can be made with one of the shape tools in this panel here. So I can just combine them like this and get exactly what I want. Moving on to one of my favorite tools in Illustrator, we've got the blend tool, which is right over here on the sidebar. It's this square with these circles in it, and we can just press W to select it. And now what this does is you can click on two different shapes and it will create a smooth blend between the two. So this blends not only the color, but also the shape of the shape. So you can go from squares into circles, from circles into stars, or even a weird blob shape into an even weirder blob shape.
Yeah, get into it.
If you want to adjust the position of your blends, that's also very easy. So you just double click on the blend itself, go into the shapes, and drag them around like so. So I can move this circle anywhere I want. If you double click on the tool in the tools panel, you can also bring up the blend options. So you've got smooth color, specified steps, and specified distance. And you can also change the orientation of the shapes during the blend. So if I go specified steps here and put that down to, let's say 2, you can see that Illustrator draws 2 shapes between the circle and the square because there's only 2 steps to the blend. So there'll only be 2 different increments on the path between the shapes. And then if I go with specified distance, you can think of this as like the distance between the increments. So if I put this to, let's say 100, there'll be 100 pixels of space between each increment in the blend. But if I put this down to 1, you can get a much smoother blend with only 1 pixel between each increment. One of my favorite things with the blend tool is using it to create 3D text. So I've got 2 vectorized text elements here, and if I use the blend tool, I can just blend them together, adjust the settings here to be 1 pixel, and then you can see these sort of blend together here. And what I can do is copy this, paste it in place, change the color of the text, and then we've got a nice 3D text effect here. And if we move this blue one in the back to be more under here like this, you can see you can create some really nice 3D text effects with the blend tool. For the next tool I'd like to show, I've got this wavy path here, and we're going to get the type on path tool here, which is hidden under the type tool. So if you just click and hold on the button, you can go over to the type on path tool. And with the type on path tool selected, you can just click anywhere on a path and then it will create some text for you. So let's just bump that up a bit. And obviously this text follows the curvature of the path as well, which is really nice. And if you want to adjust the position of the text on the path, you can just grab the bottom of these little handles here. So my cursor will change to this kind of straight line with an arrow. If I click and drag there, I can just move the type along the path to where I want it. And the type on path tool is still affected by the alignment options up at the top. So if we align center, it will align it at the center of the path. Likewise, if we align right, it will align at the right of the path. But let's put it in the middle for now, and we can double click on the type on path tool, and then it'll bring up the type on path options. So from here you can adjust the effect. So right now it's on rainbow. If I put that to skew, it will like warp the type around the path. If I put it on stair step, it'll make the letters look as if they're on a set of stairs. And probably what's most important here is align to path. So right now it's on baseline, but if I put it on center, it'll actually adjust the text so that it's in the center of the path rather than just sitting on top of it. Likewise, if I change it to ascender, then the path will go on top of the text, and if I change it to descender, the text will go on top of the path. So the type on path tool is really useful when you want the text to follow, let's say, a circle here. So if I get the pencil tool and just make a rough circle, that is not the best, of course. So the type on path tool is really good when you want to draw text around, let's say, a circle. So if we grab the type on path tool and click on the path of the circle, you can see that the text goes all the way around the circle, and you can adjust the points here to change how the text orients itself around the circle as well. So the second to last tool I'd like to show you is the width tool. So that is just Shift and W on the keyboard, and of course you can click on the tool in the panel if you don't know the shortcut, but now you do, so use it. So the width tool is really cool because you can click and drag on a stroke to individually adjust the widths at different points on the line. So I can make this part thicker, and then if I go here, I can make this thicker too. And the path will just adjust its width automatically based on the adjustments that you make. So if I make this thinner, you can see here, because I made this thicker, it starts thick, goes thin, and then goes thick again. So I'll show you an example here. If I just draw a spiral with the pencil tool, add a bit of a stroke to it. What I can do now is go Shift W and adjust the stroke width here, so we can get a spiral that goes thicker as it goes in, or we can make a spiral that goes thicker when it goes out, like so. And for the final tool I want to show you, I've just made this little stick man here using the ellipse tool. Isn't he just a masterpiece? Like, I think this might be the best thing I've ever made in Illustrator. So the last tool that I want to show you is the puppet warp tool, and mine is hidden under here under the direct selection tool. Now I'm not sure if that's there by default, so if it's not there for you, what you want to do is hit the 3 dots here at the bottom of the toolbar and just look for the puppet warp tool in this big list. And what you can do with any of the tools in this list is just click and drag it over onto your toolbar, and then it will be there permanently for when you need to use it later. So using the puppet warp tool, you can click and drag on these little points here, and it'll just adjust the shape of your graphic based on where you drag the point to and where the other points are in relation to that one. If any of you guys are into 3D modeling, you can kind of think of this tool as like adding bones to a skeletal mesh, and the points basically act as anchors that determine how the shape can be manipulated. So this is really useful in the case of my stickman here, because the puppet warp tool allows me to adjust his pose and position without really damaging the structure of the shape. So I often use this tool when I've got like a humanoid or like an animal-like illustration, and I just want to adjust the pose ever so slightly so that it fits with what I need. So yeah guys, that is all the tools that I use on a daily basis. Hopefully you learned something new from watching me play around with these tools. Let me know down in the comments if there's a tool that you use every day, and I can guarantee you that I'll learn something from you guys as well. Thanks again guys for making it to the end of this week's video. As usual, please like, share, comment and subscribe because it truly helps me out. If you want to check out some of my other videos, they'll be linked on the screen right about now. But that is all for today guys, so I will see you next week. Bye!